What up, AOK Mafia? It's your boy Artofkickz. Said just like that, we back with another one. Alright, y'all. So right now I am filming another reaction right after Friday night's live stream. So that means it's late and this video is long. So I'm gonna try to get through this. This is called The Unknown Mysteries. Mystifying UFO cases. Ooh, y'all know me and aliens, boy. Y'all know me and aliens. I'm a believer. Y'all ready? I'm ready. Let's go.
It looked like a silver saucer. It was exactly what it looked like. It was like no higher than 100 feet from my car.
What he saw, and he said, well, I know I was in outer space because all I could see was stars, and he said it looked like planets.
It was illuminating the clouds, and that's about what it looked like. It was white.
This bright light. Object that looked like a saucer or something unidentified.
Jumping up in the sky and doing all kinds of kind of tricks. And it was too fast for an airplane. It wasn't a helicopter, and it wasn't anything that we had ever seen.
I've never paid much attention to UFO sightings. I've read about the occasional incident, but my curiosity has never really expanded beyond those few cases. I just find that far too often the focus of UFO stories is on the mystery itself, as opposed to the resolution of that mystery. Plausible explanations take a backseat to fantastical embellishments. There's a documentary on Netflix right now, and I'm using the term documentary very loosely, about a man who claims to be harassed and pursued by aliens. In one scene, he literally has someone bob one of those alien masks you'd get for Halloween outside a window, and it is played completely straight.
Oh my god, what the fuck is that? Holy shit. Oh my god, what's it doing? Holy shit. Oh man.
We, the audience, are supposed to believe.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. Oh my god, they want us to believe that's real. He want us to believe that's real. Come on, boy.
That this is a close encounter of the third kind, when it looks like a close encounter of the trick-or-treat kind.
Exactly.
Nevertheless, this documentary did pique my interest, and so I began to learn more about the UFO phenomenon, immersing myself in this expansive mythos of which I only had a very limited understanding. From the very start, I was taken down this convoluted path of alien abductions, government conspiracies, and alien experiments.
That's a female.
That read like rejected drafts of the X-Files. But every now and again, I came across something a bit more credible. Stories that were genuinely difficult to rationalize. Nothing that would convince me the Earth is a galactic resort, but mystifying stories all the same. To get you on the same page as me, we need to go back to the year 1947. In the summer of 1947, news and government agencies across North America were flooded with reports of strange objects in the sky. This UFO mania was provoked by a pilot named Kenneth Arnold. On June the 24th, Arnold was flying over the Cascade Mountains in the state of Washington when he observed a formation of 9 saucer-like objects zooming across the sky. Unbeknownst to Arnold, this innocent description would come to popularize the term flying saucer. The scintillating discoids appear to be traveling at a speed of some 2,000 kilometers per hour, a speed yet to be achieved by any man-made airplane in 1947.
Right.
Arnold initially suspected he'd observed some secret military test flight, but the US Air Force quickly denied responsibility and merely dismissed the sighting as some form of optical illusion. But it wasn't quite that simple. Not only was Arnold an experienced pilot, but his...
See, man, this is why I be trying to get window seats every time I fly somewhere, man.
story was corroborated by a number of witnesses on the ground who all described a series of oval-shaped objects traveling at a tremendous rate of speed. Furthermore, other sightings had been reported days before and would continue for many days after. More than 800 cases in less than a month, including the famous Roswell incident.
What? I had no idea. There were 800 sightings in less than a month. Yep, aliens real.
Publicly, The US Air Force dismissed the sightings as nothing more than a combination of overactive imaginations and misperceptions of natural phenomena. But internally, the Air Force was just as mystified as the public and actually quite concerned. Hundreds of unrelated persons from all walks of life, including high-ranking military officials, scientists, engineers, politicians, and professional pilots, reported uncannily similar experiences in the span of a few weeks.
Right.
Both the public and the intelligence community grew increasingly convinced that something was hiding amongst the clouds.
See, now that makes stuff even more believable, because it's not only regular civilians that are saying they see stuff in the sky, but it's also military officials. It's also these pilots that are flying helicopters and planes and stuff that say they see stuff too, that they can't identify, that's not moving in a way that anything man-made can move. Aliens are real. You'd be foolish to think otherwise.
In late June of 1947, the Air Force covertly launched a preliminary investigation into the sightings, as they suspected that some UFOs could be vessels of foreign or celestial origin. By late September, the existence of advanced aeronautic vehicles could not be eliminated. While the majority of cases could be ascribed to natural phenomena, the maneuverability and evasive behavior displayed by some UFOs defied all conventional explanations. It was speculated that these seemingly mechanical UFOs could be part of some top-secret military project, either foreign or domestic. It was feared that the Soviet Union had seized German technology after World War II and developed some advanced aircraft capable of covert infiltration of US airspace. This led to the formation of Project Sign, a classified investigation that would attempt to determine whether or not UFOs posed a threat to national security. While the project members entertained a number of plausible causes, by the summer of 1948, a minority of credible and well-documented UFO cases could not be resolved. These cases became known as the unknowns. By process of elimination, Project Sign therefore concluded that the most probable explanation for the most inexplicable of cases was the extraterrestrial hypothesis. In other words, the unknowns did not appear to be from this Earth.
Yeah.
However, once this report reached the Pentagon, it was rejected. The interplanetary explanation was thought to be unsubstantiated, and so the report was ultimately scrapped. Project Sign was dissolved soon thereafter, and subsequent investigations ultimately failed to ascertain the nature of these unknowns. Project Sign's successor, Project Blue Book, merely concluded that it was statistically improbable that UFOs represented technological capabilities beyond our own. As the vast majority of UFO sightings are misperceptions of natural phenomena, the presumption was that all UFOs...
What kind of natural phenomena would somebody be mistaken for a freaking UFO? That makes zero sense. What kind of natural phenomena? Everybody knows about clouds in the sky and lightning. That's the only natural phenomena that I could think of where I would look up in the sky and see something out of the norm of everyday life. Lightning, and that's it. Maybe a tunnel, a tornado, that's it. Natural phenomena, come on. It's called UFOs. Get with the program.
UFO sightings are likely to be misperceptions. As such, funding for UFO research could no longer be justified, as the threat to national security was evidently non-existent.
That makes perfect sense.
Government-sanctioned UFO research officially ended with the dissolution of Project Blue Book in 1969, and the Air Force has since proclaimed the issue resolved. Out of the 12,618 UFO reports in its collection, 701 were marked unknown upon its conclusion, although some would argue that many cases were mischaracterized and that more than 1,700 cases should be regarded as unknowns. While the US government may dismiss these unknowns as mere statistical anomalies, The fundamental question remains, what did people see? What kind of natural phenomenon evades resolution despite decades of scrutiny?
Great question. Never heard of this incident, I don't think.
Late in the afternoon on May the 24th, 1949, 6 civilians were on a fishing trip on the Rogue River in the state of Oregon. Suddenly, one of them observed a round and scintillating object in the sky. It barely moved as it silently hovered some 1,500 meters above. It was difficult to discern any details with the naked eye, but fortunately one of them had brought a pair of binoculars with 8 times magnification.
Ooh.
The binoculars revealed a clearly distinguishable metallic craft of unfamiliar design. It was round and flat, about 10 meters in diameter, and had a rounded fin on the roof. It had a reflective silver-colored surface that appeared to be somewhat dirty. It lacked any conventional means of propulsion and made absolutely no sound. After some 2 minutes of observation, the UFO gradually moved in the opposite direction of the wind until it disappeared with the speed of a jet plane. Besides the...
Think about how he just described this UFO, and then think about the technology that we have today in our modern automobiles, like electric cars. Electric cars look a lot different. For one, they're electric and they can be silent. They don't make a whole lot of noise. And then you look at Teslas and how fast they can go. These aliens far more advanced than us. Heck, they were able to figure out how to get down here to Earth. And they're traveling in a way that we can't even comprehend. They're not traveling by the speed of light or the speed of sound. Obviously, sound is way slower than light. They're time skipping. Gotta be. They're doing something different. And we need to figure out what they're doing. So maybe we can go to some other inhabited planets that otherwise in our lifetime, in our lifespan, wouldn't be able to get to. We need to hop on board with the aliens. And I mean physically get on their aircraft and pew! Another planet, another dimension, another time. Life, earth, breath. We can breathe there.
Corroborating accounts and detailed sketches. What makes this case so interesting is that 2 of the civilian observers were also employed at an aeronautical research facility, so they had ample knowledge of aeronautics. Furthermore, the story never reached the public. This is important because if this was a hoax, one would expect the hoaxers to seek media attention. Yet the witnesses refrained from speaking to the press. The story never reached the public eye until many years later when ufologists uncovered the case files, which revealed that Project Blue Book had rather dismissively concluded it must have been a misidentified airplane or weather balloon. So all we need now is a plane shaped like a pancake or a self-propelled balloon unaffected by wind.
Man, that wasn't no freaking weather balloon, or they know that junk was alien, man. Come on. This boy had a 800 zoom magnified freaking telescope, whatever the freak, binoculars. He was able to see what that was clear as day. In the daytime. It was alien. But they want to deny it and mark out some stuff on that little paper, concealing the truth. Never heard this story, but I'm glad we're hearing it now. Crazy.
Items on display include the latest in meteorological devices. The weather balloon is equipped with a radio sound which permits measurement of atmospheric temperature, humidity, and pressure at various altitudes.
If you spend some time reading about UFOs, you will soon come across an explanation that is repeated time and time again.
Let's hear it.
Weather balloons.
Right.
The Battle of Los Angeles, balloon. The Roswell incident, top secret balloon. The Mantell incident, once again, a balloon. Unfortunately for proponents of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, it is often a rather convincing explanation. However, it is far less convincing when the witnesses of a UFO are themselves launching a balloon. On April the 24th, 1949, a group of 5 balloonists had just launched a weather balloon in the New Mexico desert and were tracking said balloon with a special telescope. Suddenly, the person operating the telescope sighted another object in the sky and alerted the rest of the group, who could all see the UFO with the naked eye. It had an elliptical shape and was white, silver, and yellowish in color. It was impossible to accurately determine its altitude and size due to the lack of reference points, but it appeared to be flying at an extremely high altitude and moved so quickly across the sky it was difficult to track with a telescope. It remained visible for about a minute until it suddenly stopped its horizontal motion and disappeared by near vertical ascension into the clear blue sky.
That would be dope to witness.
It made no sound and traveled crosswind. A year prior, a very similar incident had taken place on the 5th of April. 3 balloonists in the New Mexico desert were observing a weather balloon when they spotted a UFO moving at a very high rate of speed. It had a round shape and was white, gray, and goldish in color. It flew erratically across the sky and performed vertical loops for about 30 seconds until it disappeared. The desert was completely silent, yet the UFO violently maneuvered without making a sound. Then on January the 16th, 1951, 2 balloonists and a number of pilots and civilians in the New Mexico desert observed 2 UFOs in the vicinity of the balloon they were observing. The balloon had reached an altitude of 35 kilometers, and even though it was about 30 meters in diameter, the 2 UFOs were about 3 to 5 times larger and appeared to be flying above the balloon. They had an elliptical shape and were white and gray in color. They orbited the balloon for about 40 seconds until they disappeared into the distance at a terrific rate of speed.
So I had a theory, right, for this last case, technically for all of them. When they sent the weather balloons up, the aliens probably were thinking, yo, hold on. Yo, is that one of our brothers? Is that one of ours? Oh, wait, let's go investigate. Let's go find out what that is. And then they look, they get close enough. Like, what the freak is this? Oh, this ain't... Yeah, we knew it wasn't a man-made aircraft, but we wasn't sure if it was one of ours because it has this organic shape like we do. No, that's one of their little experiments. We just gonna keep on going about our business. And that's exactly what it looked like this little group of spacecrafts, UFOs did. Like, they examined it. Oh, wait, that's not one of ours. Let's go.
And these are just 3 examples of many similar cases, and despite the fact that the spectators involved could not have been more qualified to identify aerial phenomena, none could explain what they had seen.
Real aliens. Y'all, I'm over here trying to fight back yarning. It's super late. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I do apologize. But I want to get through this because y'all know I love aliens. 1952
Just
UFO
before midnight on July the 19th, 1952, radar scopes in and around Washington, D.C. picked up a cluster of 5 to 10 unidentified targets. There were no scheduled flights in the area, and the UFOs did not adhere to any established flight paths. The possibility of a malfunction was quickly eliminated as radar scopes at 3 separate airports displayed the same unidentifiable targets. Eventually, the objects could be visually confirmed as orbs of light slowly moving across the sky.
Keep that.
After a while, the objects began to fan out, zooming across the night sky of Washington, D.C. They flew above the White House, the Capitol building, and many other restricted areas in a disorganized and unpredictable fashion. On numerous occasions, the UFOs performed sharp 90-degree turns, and some would completely reverse course in a matter of seconds. Radar operators were baffled. No man-made aircraft could perform such maneuvers.
Exactly.
Air traffic controllers, radar operators...
That seems to be a common thing amongst UFOs, is that every time one is spotted, usually when it comes to the Air Force spotting them, It's like, yo, these things aren't moving right.
Pilots, military personnel, and countless civilians all reported sightings of UFOs. One pilot remained in close proximity to the UFOs for about 14 minutes, describing them as white lights with no recognizable shape.
14 minutes.
While some lights flew in parallel to the plane, others appeared to be flying outside the Earth's atmosphere. The sightings by the pilot also coincided with a radar detection, suggesting that these were indeed physical flying objects, as opposed to radar misidentifications of some kind. After more than 3 hours, 2 jet fighters were dispatched to intercept the UFOs. But moments before they arrived, the objects accelerated to speeds in excess of 10,000 kilometers per hour and disappeared out of sight. However,
Man, them aliens so slick, boy. Them aliens like, man, y'all need to stop. Y'all cannot catch us. Y'all ain't got nothing on us, man. I don't even know where y'all trying. Hold on, yo. I'm trying to fix the screen. What the freak? Oh, wrong. Clicking on the wrong screen. Hold on. Dang. I can't fix it. Sorry. There we go.
when the jets returned to refuel, the UFOs returned to the skies. Some 5 hours after initial detection, the last UFO vanished from the radar scopes.
Dang, when the jets went to go refill, the UFOs came back. They were like, ha, y'all got to refill. We use a different kind of energy.
But a week later, the UFOs returned once more. On the evening of July the 26th, numerous UFOs were observed streaking across the skies above and around Washington, D.C.
And another thing, too, I don't think that UFOs show up on these type of radars anymore. I think they caught wind. So now they're like, now we got to go more stealth so they can't see us.
They shared many similarities with the UFOs from the week before, appearing as orbs of light capable of extreme supersonic velocities. The crew and passengers of some commercial flights could once again visually confirm the existence of many of the UFOs detected by radar.
Interesting.
4 jets were dispatched during the night, and 2 of the pilots did see something on 2 separate occasions. One pilot saw 4 white lights, while the other saw a single white light. However, neither came close enough to make an accurate identification, as the jets were easily outmaneuvered by the UFOs. Under mounting pressure from the public to explain this apparent invasion of the US Capitol, the Air Force held a press conference on July the 29th.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations that we now are attempting to resolve. We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any department of the United States.
What? Yo! Did my ears just hear that correctly? I don't need no more proof. Come on. Clearly, they've been keeping these things a secret for quite some time. Clearly, I've always believed that. Aliens are real.
At the conference, they claimed that temperature inversions were to blame. It's an atmospheric condition in which layers of warm air traps pockets of cold air, which can result in false returns on a radar scope. Conversely, the visual sightings were supposedly misperceptions of stars, meteors, or strange reflections of natural sources of light. In other words, it was all just a big misunderstanding, and there was no cause for alarm.
Yeah, right.
It's a very odd explanation, given that it completely disregards crucial pieces of information.
Yeah, like what the freaking naked eye saw
For one thing, visual observations and radar detections were confirmed to be one and the same on numerous occasions. When pilots claimed they had visual contact with a UFO, ground personnel confirmed its existence and location on the radar scopes. When pilots claimed a UFO disappeared, it simultaneously disappeared from the radar scopes. Another glaring issue is the temperature inversion.
Exactly. Like, as they're communicating with one another, the pilot's like, yo, we see something out here. The dispatch like, yeah, we're picking it up too on our radar. And then, phew, all right, yo, the thing just disappeared. Yeah, we're not seeing it either. Stop trying to cover it up with stupid explanations.
Inversions occurred on a daily basis throughout the...
Talking about, a heat pocket trapped a pocket of cold air and blah, 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 blah. That's what that was. No.
Summer of 1952, yet unidentified radar targets only appeared on the 2 nights in question. Personnel at Andrews Air Force Base were not quite sure as to what they had seen, claiming they may have seen meteors or other natural phenomena. But the senior air traffic controller at Washington National Airport was certain they had detected solid maneuvering objects while explicitly denying the possibility of weather-related targets.
If it was a meteor, and it's a meteor that was gonna crash land on Earth, you could easily track that. I mean, come on, y'all. Y'all keep on backtracking, trying to throw us off when we're hearing too much about these things are making maneuvers. They're jetting off and flying off in different directions at speeds that are unmatched. A freaking meteorite is just gonna travel. It's not gonna do all that other stuff y'all saying. Stop trying to throw us off course, man. We know what it is.
Furthermore, none of the radar operators agreed with the Air Force's conclusion.
Duh.
Everyone was certain they had been tracking metallic flying objects.
Precisely.
Even the national...
Exactly, fool. How you gonna try to tell somebody one thing when they're seeing with their own 2 eyes? Yo, that is metallic, you fool.
Weather Bureau disagreed with the temperature inversion theory.
Duh, because that's a stupid theory.
Claiming that such phenomena would appear as amorphous streaks across the radar scopes, as opposed to sharp, delineable dots.
All that.
In spite of these glaring contradictions, the Air Force concluded that temperature inversions were to blame, and that nothing extraordinary had taken place. Though somewhat paradoxically, the Project Blue Book files list the case as an unknown, while simultaneously agreeing with the Air Force's conclusion.
There we go, baby. The ZAMORA incident. Tell me about it.
On April the 24th, 1964, police officer Lonnie Zamora was chasing a speeding car outside the city of Socorro in the New Mexico desert when he was alerted by a loud noise and a bright flame in the sky. Believing it to be an explosion, he broke off the chase and drove towards the light to investigate. The flame was blue and orange and appeared to be...
Wait, did that thing say he was born in 1933? Would that make him like 15 years old? Or is my math way off?
Descending towards the ground about half a kilometer away. After a difficult drive through the rough terrain, he noticed a white and silver-colored object some 200 meters distant. It initially appeared to be an overturned car, and he could see 2 men in white coveralls standing beside it. The 2 men
My math is way off. It'll make him 31.
Seemed alarmed by Zamora's presence and looked straight at him, but after clearing a small hill, which momentarily obstructed his view, the 2 men had vanished. Zamora could now discern that it wasn't a car, but some kind of elliptical object supported by 4 metallic legs. The white ellipsoid was about 5 meters in diameter and had a red insignia printed on the side. He then proceeded on foot and was about 30 meters away when he heard loud thumps as if someone closed a door, and then a smokeless flame reminiscent of a welding torch suddenly erupted beneath the craft. The flame was once again blue and orange in color, and it produced the same roaring sound that was increasing in frequency. Ever so slowly, the object began to rise. At this point, ZAMORA became frightened, and the loud noise gave him the impression that the UFO was about to explode, so he ran for cover behind his car. But after a while, the UFO went completely silent and was now hovering some 6 meters above the ground. Its speed gradually increased until it disappeared into the distance.
Now that's interesting. I love how he said that this thing, this light that almost looked like that of a blowtorch or a welding torch, kind of erupted or emerged out the bottom of this spacecraft, and then it lifted into the sky, and then it went silent. It would almost make me think, why would it need that in the first place? If it's able to maneuver in the air in the way that it does, why would it need what looks like a rocket or a jet propulsion type of thing to get up off the ground? But hey, it's alien.
While ZAMORA was the only person to observe the craft up close, a number of witnesses had independently reported sightings of an oval-shaped UFO and a bluish flame before the story had reached the press. One particular witness had observed a descent of an oval-shaped UFO and a police car chasing after it. A second police officer arrived within minutes, and both the FBI and the Air Force would soon converge upon the site. The supposed landing site was thoroughly investigated and photographed. Grass and bushes had been burnt and were still smoldering when the first officers arrived at the scene. Some of the burnt plants were notoriously difficult to set aflame. The investigators also uncovered 4 wedge-shaped indentations in the ground, and they appeared to be fresh as the dry topsoil had been pushed aside, revealing the still moist subsoil.
Yo, this is crazy. Like, oh, what the freak? It's like aliens actually, this is the first time ever in my life. And you guys gotta let me know if this is the first time for you as well. I've never heard anyone mention anything about alien footprints on US or the soil of the world. Never. This is the first. You hear about Bigfoot and they trying to encapsulate that dang on footprint, but you never hear them try to do that with an alien footprint. This is amazing.
A cluster of footprints were also discovered within the rectangular region of the indentations. No helicopters had been in the vicinity. The insignia on the craft could not be identified. The site was not radioactive. Radar had not picked up any unusual activity, nor did the soil samples collected from the landing site reveal any evidence of chemical propellants. Some claim that vitrified sand had been collected, which is when extreme heat melts sand into glass. However, others refute this claim, so it's difficult to know for certain. Nevertheless, none of the investigators believed it to be a hoax. The cluster of footprints were localized and did not lead away from the indentations. Assuming ZAMORA created the indentations himself and somehow managed to ignite the near inflammable vegetation, he must have done so without leaving any evidence or footprints except for a small cluster near the center. ZAMORA was deemed highly reliable by everyone who knew him, but more importantly by those who interrogated him. Despite plenty of opportunities to do so, he never capitalized on the sighting, nor did he seem to appreciate the attention the story attracted.
See, that makes it even more believable, because I feel like I have the integrity to would have wanted to do it that way as well. Like, no, I'm not going to capitalize off of this. I don't want any monetary gain off of what I witnessed. I want people to know, trust, and believe that what I said I saw is true.
No evidence of a hoax has ever been uncovered, and ZAMORA's integrity remained intact until his death many decades later.
Precisely.
The Project Blue Book investigation failed to reach a conclusion. The most plausible explanation seemed to be that Lonnie ZAMORA had witnessed some kind of classified experimental aircraft, an explanation favored by the local population as well as ZAMORA himself. Given that the highly secretive military testing range known as the White Sands Proving Grounds is located right next door, this is certainly a possibility. However, the unusual design and advanced capabilities of the craft observed still makes it difficult to believe. Unsurprisingly, the military denied the existence of such a craft.
Of course they denied it because they didn't have any say-so in this. This is alien. They couldn't have done this.
Many years later, the Air Force captain in charge of the investigation...
No. Look at that thing. If that is what he saw, for that to be able to maneuver in the way that it does, we have not figured out anything. If you put a freaking rocket underneath an egg, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna flow up straight in the air. No, we need wings. We need helicopter freaking... What are the things called? What are the things called that's on helicopters? The propellers, whatever they're called. We need that stuff to catapult us into the air. We haven't figured out how to do what that did.
Investigation recalled a strange phone call he'd received at the time. A high-ranking military official at the Pentagon had called and personally questioned him about the case, which he found to be highly unusual. He thought it was unconventional for a colonel to be making such a call, and so he wondered, why in the world were they so interested?
Right. Very fascinating.
Why is it that even though half the global population walks around with a high-resolution camera in their pocket, high-resolution footage of flying saucers seem to be non-existent?
Right.
I've seen variations of this line of reasoning before, and at first glance it may seem quite decisive. While it is true that cameras are more readily accessible and video quality has improved significantly over the past few decades, so has the quality of forgeries. Thanks to software like After Effects, almost anyone can create a convincing forgery, which means that videos like these will never be the definitive proof they likely would have been a few decades ago. Imagine an ideal situation for a moment. Imagine that a reliable individual with no background in visual effects and no previous interest in UFOs captures an actual unidentifiable aircraft on a high-resolution camera. Not some blob of pixels as if it was filmed by a Japanese adult film studio, nor some indiscernible streak that requires CSI-esque enhancements, but an actual clearly distinguishable craft that defy all conventional explanations. Even then, the authenticity of that footage would inevitably come into question. And it would in all likelihood be impossible to prove.
Literally. Oh, that's the thing that I hate. Well, let's backtrack. It wouldn't be impossible to prove. Everybody has live stream now at the tip of their fingers. If multiple people were out and about and they was all in separate locations, let's say you take all this surrounding area underneath this clearly fake UFO, but there's someone here, someone over there, someone off over here, maybe someone up in the mountains over there, and they're all recording and live streaming on Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. That's definitive proof that the UFOs are real. If they're live streaming it, that's definitive proof, especially if it is an actual UFO. But other than that, anybody just simply recording it from their phone and then uploading it later, most would dismiss that.
That it actually happened. I remember back in 2011, a UFO in Jerusalem was captured on...
This was dope as heck.
...video by multiple people from multiple vantage points. The case attracted worldwide attention, and in multiple locations lent credence to the sighting's authenticity.
Yo, that looked legit. That thing came down, flashed some lights, and then flew back into the sky so fast.
Attracted worldwide attention, and in multiple locations lent credence to the sighting's authenticity. However, sometime later, a team of journalists tracked down the cameramen responsible and found that one was a filmmaker and film teacher, while the others just so happened to be students at the same school. Drones have also made it far too easy to stage UFO sightings.
Yes.
Strange lights in the dark night sky performing seemingly impossible maneuvers. Drones got you covered. What appears to be a solid craft in a clear blue sky that looks nothing like a conventional drone. Drones got you covered.
Yeah.
It's become next to
Look at that drone.
impossible to eliminate conventional explanations, as virtually every person on the planet has gained easy access to the heavens above.
Precisely.
At this point, nothing short of a spaceship landing in the middle of Times Square should be deemed convincing.
Yeah, imagine if that happened though.
This is at least in part why I chose to focus my attention on older cases, as none of these problems existed a few decades ago.
Exactly.
The first director of Project Blue Book, Edward J. Ruppelt, would later go on to write a book about the cases he and his team investigated. In it, he describes a drastic shift in the attitude towards UFO research following the rejection of the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Okay.
The Air Force no longer sought to understand the nature of UFOs, but rather sought to debunk the phenomenon at large. In his own words, everything was being evaluated on the premise that UFOs could not exist. No matter what you see or hear.
Foolish. That is so foolish. That's like a bias. It's like they decided, you know what? No, this makes no sense. We're just going to toss this idea completely out of the window. Somebody's playing with us. It's the Russians. It's the Asians. It's somebody. Somebody out there is playing with us. We're going to stop with this whole UFO nonsense. So let's just automatically say UFOs couldn't possibly exist. Foolish.
Don't believe it. Following the aforementioned Washington, D.C. incident in 1952, this predisposition was only reinforced.
Right, and this is 52, goodness gracious.
Investigators were instructed to focus on cases they could solve and to never discuss the unknowns in public.
Exactly. Dang. I'm not surprised at all, telling them to only focus on the cases that they can solve.
The subject was to be debunked and ridiculed, and so it was. What had initially been perceived as a potential threat to national security had now, through an orchestrated public relations campaign, been reduced to a socially unacceptable pseudoscience. Ruppelt writes in his book, "This change in the operating policy of the UFO project was so pronounced that I, like so many other people, wondered if there was a hidden reason for the change. Was it actually an attempt to go underground to make the project more secretive?
Yes.
Was it an effort to cover up the fact that UFOs were proven to be interplanetary and that this should be withheld from the public at all cost to prevent a mass panic?"
All of that is a great assumption. See, it's funny how you have the people that are trying to make it be known, let it be known, be more logical in regards to why someone would want to keep it undercover, keep it under wraps, keep it a secret. And then the people that are trying to keep the stuff a secret, it's like they're elementary with it. They're not doing a very good job of explaining or giving reasons as to why they want to keep it under wraps.
Maybe I was just playing the front man to a big cover-up. See this
Ruppelt, this logic that makes sense.
It's of course just speculating, but
it sounds like some really accurate speculations though.
Given that he was the head of the operation, it does make you wonder if there may have been some truth behind those concerns. Assuming the military is lying, then how does one distinguish a lie about alien spaceships from a lie about classified aircrafts? We know nothing of either, so the two deceptions would appear identical. I mean,
look at this mess. They were actually trying to make spaceships back then.
I want to believe, but I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to believe in.
Look at that.
Of the work,
they're going off of the technology that they find in the actual spaceships and trying to mimic it. But we don't have the minerals. We don't have the ingredients to do what they're doing.
My way through a few hundred cases, I feel even more conflicted than I did when I began. Things were just so much simpler then. I could just laugh around pretending to be scared of a Halloween mask. No grand conspiracies, no extraterrestrials, none of that.
Yeah, right. Capaholics.
Just mortal fear and a piece of plastic. Simpler time.
Oh, man. This was good. Yo, this was absolutely amazing. I feel like I definitely feel like aliens are real now more than ever. But anyway, y'all know what time it is. If you like this reaction, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more. As always, the link to the original will be down in the description box below. If you haven't already, make sure you follow your boy on the gram and Twitter at Artofkickz. And aliens are real. See ya.